This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not represent other podcasts or affiliates of Gonna Geek. Check out more podcasts at gonnageek.com and get ready because geekiness starts in 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Crimson Comet, a fan podcast about the TV show dedicated to the Scarlet Speedster himself, CW's The Flash. Welcome to Episode 4 of Crimson Comet. This week we'll be discussing The Flash, Season 1, Episode 4, Going Rogue. I'm your host, Haley, aka Awesome Engineering Girl.
I'm John, aka Lobster.
And I'm Will, a.k.a. Rum Daddy.
We would love to hear from you guys if you have anything to say about The Flash or our podcast.
Because we're very lonely.
So lonely.
So lonely.
You can visit our website, crimsoncometpodcast.com. That'll take you to our page on the Gonna Geek website. Our Twitter account is @CrimsonPodcast, and our Facebook page is Crimson Comet Podcast.
What's our phone number?
Well, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 423-FLASH-53. That's 423-352-7453.
Flash!
Flash!
Oh, calling every one of us.
Why did you go with Flash 53 and not Flash 52?
I bet it was taken.
Because when I typed in Flash for the Google Voice thing to get a phone number, it just randomly generates a list of phone numbers available that have Flash in them. And that's what I got. Like, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I should have done Da Flash.
Da Flash.
That was Da Flash.
D-A Flash, yep. But I didn't.
But for those who want to remember it, you know, Flash 52 plus 1. So we're not really part of the 52 universe, the new 52 version.
Well, because we add one extra thing to that universe, that makes it 53.
That's absolutely right. We are that amazing.
Yep. Well, we did get some feedback on our Twitter page this week.
And what do they got to say?
Well, Andy was live tweeting the episode. He mentioned that he thought that the concert hall was the same concert hall they used in Battlestar Galactica.
Well, they were in Canada, so that's very probable. Yeah, they film in like
Vancouver and
probably.
Stuff, right? So.
And he also said that he spotted another Grind and Jolt cafe in Starling City.
We're all about the Grind and Jolt.
But isn't this one called Jitters?
No. When they're in like a food court and you see it in the background.
Gotcha.
At one point in this episode.
So we know that they have the same fast food chains in Starling City and Central City.
The same franchises exist in universe between the two. Which, I mean, if you're going to make a shared universe, that's how you do it, right?
Yeah, that's how you tie it together.
Yeah.
Or they have the same set dresser for both shows.
Or the same show creators, or the same music composer,
it's pretty much the same crew. So
yeah. Which this episode transitioned seamlessly from Arrow last week to this episode to Arrow this week.
It did. It was pretty smooth.
I haven't watched Arrow this week yet, so
I've watched half of this week's Arrow.
Felicity leaves in the end of last week's Arrow. She shows up in Center City for this one, and then shows back up at the end of this week's Arrow. And she's like, hey, what did I miss?
Spoilers, I haven't gotten to the end of this week's Arrow. Gosh. You ruined the whole episode.
Everyone dies, except Felicity.
Everyone dies. Well, we know she takes a train, because she was on the train.
And it's a safe form of travel.
It's just the Felicity show, which is what I really want.
There was one, but then she cut her hair and the show failed.
Oh, that's a different Felicity. I see what you did there.
So you see what I did there?
I did. Yeah. I was a kid when that came out.
Stop
like,
it.
A pretty young
kid.
Stop
it. Stop it.
I'm just saying you're old. What?
I'm old. I drink. There was something else. I can't remember.
We got some more feedback. A lot of people were talking about the characters and who they might become in this universe.
Everyone who has a speaking role on this show becomes somebody, as it turns out. Andrew
Wilson, Arcanity23 on Twitter, said Wells has a time travel story similar to the villain, Professor Zoom, but he was called Eobard Thawne, which is interesting. Because we do have a character called Eddie Thawne, a.k.a. Pretty Boy Cop.
Oh. Is that why he didn't know anything about Star Wars?
He's
from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
And then some of the other characters. Hero villain Cisco could be Vibe. Ronnie, the not dead fiance, is Firestorm.
Yeah, but we knew that.
Right. And then Caitlin Snow is a Firestorm villain called Killer Frost.
Yeah. Snow, Frost, of course.
Cisco's going to be working on overtime, just giving everybody nicknames. Yep. You know what's going to end up being? This is what's going to end up being. At the end of this series, we're going to find out that all of this took place inside of Cisco's mind. That he's an autistic child and this all took place inside of his head.
Because that's always good for shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how he became Captain Cold when he didn't even graduate high school.
Right. I mean,
Come
did
on.
he start off as Ensign Cold and work his way
Totally
up through the ranks?
underqualified. How did he become a commissioned officer?
And what kind of a commission do you get? I mean, at worst, he should have gotten Mr. Cold, but then he would have ended up being Mr. Freeze, and that's a completely different villain.
Right? Come on.
I'm just saying maybe he should have been, like Private Cold first. And, we could see him grow into Captain Cold, but just Captain right off the bat, I don't feel like he earned it.
His name is Snart.
Okay, yeah, I wrote that down. That was one of my notes. I'm like, really? The guy's name is
Leonard Snart.
Leonard Snart.
It's better than Bartholomew.
Well, that's the first clue that your child is going to turn into a supervillain by giving him a name like Leonard Snart.
Well, they didn't name him Snart. They just
named
got
him
stuck
Leonard,
with that.
and you
Snart.
put the two of them together, and yeah, you're going to end up with a kid with a chip on his shoulder who's going to end up freezing the city all the time.
That's how it snarts.
Oh. Jesse, a little too clinical, also pointed out that Cisco and Caitlin were both going to become something later, but he didn't want to spoil anything for us.
No spoilers yet.
So ratings for this week's episode were 3.53 million viewers live and same day, which is pretty solid for a CW show. Those kind of numbers are going to keep it around.
We should be so lucky.
You guys got to keep listening to us.
Well, if everybody who watches the show tunes into us the very next, couple days later, whenever we get
Tells one person
and then they tell one
about our
person,
podcast.
And then we'll sell you all a set of steak knives.
you get a snake knife, and you get a steak knife, and you get a steak knife.
So news this week, there's not really a whole lot of Flash news floating around there, but we do have a little bit of casting news. Malese Jow has been cast as a love interest for the Flash, Linda Park. And in the comics, Linda Park was a love interest of Wally West, who is a different Flash.
Didn't Linda Park play Hoshi on Star Trek Enterprise? Wasn't that the actress's name?
I haven't seen anything from Star Trek Enterprise.
All right, never mind.
Actually, that's not true. I did see one episode in the wee hours of the night once, and there was something about caves and these cave people eating these little rodent things, but their planet was getting destroyed or something. I don't know. But then they moved to the other continent on their planet, and it was all good.
Yeah, I'm totally right. She played Ensign Hoshi Sato on Star Trek Enterprise. The actress, Linda Park.
I didn't watch Enterprise when it aired, like everybody else, because that's why it went away. But I did binge watch it when it was on Netflix, and it actually, if you binge watch it, it's really good.
It's a decent show.
Yeah, it's a decent show. There were a couple of long story arcs that actually were well written and really good.
And they blow up part of Florida. Come on, what's not?
Well, they actually
Just the tip?
they do they kind of circumcise Florida
They do.
right across the bottom there.
Okay, but this is not the actress Linda Park. The character's name is Melinda Park. The actress is Malese Jow, who played on The Vampire Diaries and Star-Crossed.
Never saw it.
Wait,
I've
were
never
those on
seen
the
an episode of
CW?
either. Yeah, I think so. CW kind of recycles actors.
Yeah, they're a little incestuous with their casting.
Just like Great Britain.
Wow, she's only 23. She was also on 2 Nickelodeon sitcoms.
Ooh,
She was in Bratz the movie. That's all I need
I
to
bet
know.
that was fantastic.
Did you enjoy that?
I didn't know it was a thing that existed.
Who?
And now you know, and you can never unknow that.
Bratz the movie.
All right, well, that's it for the news.
That's it for the news. Except, hey, you guys didn't tell me that Clancy Brown got cast
Who?
and is going to be on The Flash. Clancy Brown.
I didn't know that.
That was in one of the news articles that we looked at.
Oh, was it in our Easter egg article?
Maybe.
Who's Clancy Brown?
Oh
Who
my God,
is-
who's Clancy Brown?
You don't know who Clancy Brown is? He's the Kurgan from Highlander.
It's
better
to burn
out than to fade away.
You guys do know that I was born in 1988.
Shut up.
Well, you're still older than Malese Jow.
I am.
She was born in 1991.
Nuns, no sense of humor.
Yeah, Clancy Brown is going to play the general in an upcoming episode.
it's
of
in the
Flash.
exact same article
Yeah, it's in
that
the
I
exact
linked.
same article.
Okay. Good job.
And if you click on it, you'll see a picture of Clancy Brown.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
the sheriff on Sleepy Hollow, or he was until he
Right.
got his head chopped
he
off.
was. He got his
Right.
head. Yeah. cut
Spoilers.
He's been in everything.
Yeah.
The guy's awesome.
He's
been
one
in
of those guys.
Yeah. He's that guy, when you see him come up, you're like, oh, it's that guy.
That
off. Or
guy
if you
from
hear
that
his
thing.
voice in something.
Yeah.
And he'll actually be in the next episode. Plastique.
I got to ask something from Haley. Haley, seriously, have you never seen the original Highlander?
The movie?
Yeah.
I feel like I have. I just don't remember for sure.
Oh, you'd know.
Yeah,
If you had seen a Frenchman play a Scotsman and a Scotsman play a Spanish man.
Yeah, exactly.
A Spaniard, excuse me.
I feel like I probably saw it when I was younger, so I don't remember it very well.
It's worth a rewatch.
It is so worth a rewatch.
I think my mom watched the TV show occasionally, so I probably have seen episodes here and there.
The TV show is all right, but the movie is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with the TV show. I was a big fan of the TV show. I used to love it. And then recently I went back and saw a couple episodes, and oh my God, it does not hold up.
No. That was one of those shows I was going to watch on Netflix, and I started, with the first episode, because that's where you start, and I couldn't make it through it.
No.
If you've seen the first episode, you've seen Christopher Lambert, who is in the film.
I didn't watch the entire first episode. I watched 15 minutes of it, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, in the first 15 minutes of the episode, one thing they did do well with the writing is they set up the finale of season 2 or 3 in the very first episode of that show. Because in the very first episode, when the kid breaks into his place to try and steal something, he wakes up from having very explicit sex with his girlfriend. And he wakes up, and you think that's because he hears a kid breaking in, but he actually wakes up because he knows that there's another immortal. So then later on...
I have inside me blood of kings.
Oh, another Queen song.
Yes, another Queen soundtrack along with Flash.
Oh,
saving every one of us.
He did save everyone.
He saved everyone on that train, which
he did.
Was beautiful to
watch.
Like
a boss.
And I don't know how they're going to do... By the time they get around to doing the Flash movie, I don't know how they're going to top this show. Because this show in episode 4 is already big screen worthy.
I agree.
The DC cinematic universe is going to implode long before they get to the Flash.
Yeah.
I'm not hating, though.
If Marvel doesn't do it to them, they're going to do it to themselves. But anyway, let's talk about going rogue.
Yeah, this week's episode. So, what do you guys think?
Loved it. More Felicity. More Felicity. Can she just be on both shows full time, please?
Yeah, they've got a rail system between the two cities. She can just go back and forth.
The Flash can just run her back and forth.
Yeah.
How far are those two cities from each other? Because she's got to be on the train for 4 hours.
600 miles. That's from one of the episodes they set up.
The first episode when they showed the sign.
It's like St. Louis and Portland or something. Seattle.
That's a lot of country in between those two.
Yeah, a little bit.
Central City is supposed to be the center of the country. So,
it's
St.
supposed to be, like a St. Louis or Chicago. And Starling City, I think, is supposed to be like Miami, right?
No, it's like, I think it's West Coast. It's like Portland or Seattle.
Then what's the city that's supposed to be like Miami? Because there is one.
Coast City.
Oh, there we go.
Which is the Green Lantern's hometown, right?
Okay, probably.
And what is Gotham City?
Gotham's New York, yeah.
Okay, so then what is...
Metropolis?
Metropolis.
Is another New York.
It's a figment of our imagination.
No, Metropolis is Chicago.
Metropolis is New York in the daytime. Gotham is New York at night.
Yeah.
Well, Arrow only happens at night, and Flash only happens during the day. You notice that there aren't that many night scenes on The Flash?
Except for the finale of this episode, the finale of the last episode, the finale of the first episode.
Yeah, when he beats the villain, it's nighttime.
Yeah, okay, so you proved me wrong. But here's
you're
the perfect
old.
thing. I'm old, I drink and forget. Okay, so they decide that they're going to go to trivia night, and it's clearly the middle of the day.
Sort of. It's late afternoon, early evening.
She gets all dressed up to go out at night.
Trivia night in a coffee shop, and she puts on her sideless dress.
Exactly.
Which, I know why they did it, but seriously, she's smarter than that.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I'm sorry. I love Felicity.
Oh, there's
You're
nothing.
probably going to hear me talk a lot about how I love Felicity.
She's fantastic. There's nothing to hate about her. I'm just saying that she got all dressed up for trivia night at the coffee shop, and everyone's got to leave because there's a crime underway, and they walk out, and it's clearly the middle of the day.
Night falls quickly in Central City. I know we're skipping around a bit, but I love the line where she's like, well, I'll just tell them that you had an upset stomach and diarrhea. And he's like, I'm not comfortable with that. But again, bringing in the brown streak.
Which is really in case you're wondering, diarrhea is the perfect excuse because nobody asked for details.
Yeah, they're like,
That
oh,
is true.
okay, yep, yep.
Gotcha, no problem.
It also makes you run really fast.
Well, I don't know. It makes you
awkward.
want... Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
Kind
you
of
want to get
awkwardly.
somewhere really fast, but...
You've got this awkward clinching run.
All right, so the episode begins with basically a multitasking test for Barry, and he's playing ping pong, chess, and Operation at the same time while listening to classic rock.
Although I don't know how the ping pong is going to work.
Well, the ping pong was like he'd fly and hit it, and then Cisco had to like go retrieve the ball from the other side of the room, and then he'd go back just in time to serve it again.
Right. It only works because Cisco is terrible at ping pong.
Yeah.
Because if he hit it back, he couldn't... Because he still had to take time to do the chess piece and Operation.
And make some witty retort.
Yeah. If he didn't stop to talk, he would have been fine.
Exactly.
But he loses the chess match to Dr. Wells. Checkmate.
Right. Which I think is foreshadowing things that are going to come later.
Right.
It's showing that Wells is the think tank behind this operation. And once they go head to head, which they're going to at some point before the season is over, then Barry is going to be in over his head.
Yeah. Wells is definitely a few moves ahead.
He's had centuries to work on it.
All right, so then we get the armored car heist,
That they had 182 seconds to do.
which was during the day in broad daylight.
Again,
That's when you get a lot of armored trucks around, is during the day, during broad daylight.
not in Starling City. They don't. In Starling City,
Yeah,
they,
there's always a heist, like a heist chase scene at night. That's
Right.
like you
Starling City is actually in Alaska, so they've got like 6 months of night.
right. Or it's under a permanent eclipse.
can total eclipse of the heart.
Exactly.
Turn around.
Bright eyes.
So anyway, I love this heist scene because it, again, not so much the heist part of it, but seeing Flash use his powers and how they slow down the camera. So you see everything happening in like slow motion, but then you see the Flash kind of like running through at normal speed. And
Right.
just the shot will like jump ahead a little bit. And you'll see him like run through the truck and grab the guy and knock the other guy over. And I think it's fantastic the way they do it.
That was a trick used many, many, many years ago to try and give you an illusion of time displacement that they used way back with the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. They're always running in slow-mo, but they shoot them in slow-mo. Yeah, they're running so fast.
Are you talking about that awesome Bionic Woman series that came out a few years back?
It was awesome. Oh, no, not that one.
Not that one.
That one was terrible.
Yeah,
We're talking
a little
about
bit.
Lee Majors.
And Lindsay Wagner, who to this day I still have a massive crush on.
Lindsay Wagner?
Yes.
How interesting.
I know. Really? Right. Exactly. I still have a major crush on her. Actually, she was supposed to play Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager, and she ended up turning it down. Somebody else turned it down, and it ended up with what's her face?
Genevieve Bujold.
Yeah, Genevieve Bujold was supposed to be on it too. She turned it down. I think she actually started shooting the pilot too.
So nobody wanted to be Captain Janeway?
No, nobody wanted to be Captain
And
Janeway.
if you watch The Captains, apparently Kate Mulgrew didn't either. But that's
Have
beside
you-
the point.
That's beside the point. We could go on about Kate Mulgrew and all sorts of things, but we'll move on. We digress because
Just watch Orange is the New Black. It makes up
Yeah,
for
she's good in that. She just needed a Russian accent.
it. In the last episode, I forgot to mention they name check Orange is the New Black. Did you catch that?
That's right. They say they'll watch Orange is the New Black on the plane there. And I'm thinking, that's a really awkward show to watch on a plane.
On the way to Tahiti. It's a magical place.
It is a magical place.
I have no idea what you're referencing.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that show that
Yeah.
you podcasted about for a while.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I
I
remember.
remember way back when.
Remember that, Haley? Yeah.
Back in the
Good
day.
times. Good times. Anyway,
So, Felicity shows up in Central City.
Yeah, she does.
Did she look tanner to you guys than she
Yeah.
has? Maybe it's the direct sunlight.
well,
Right, she's
stopped
actually
tanning.
getting sunlight. Her skin is just reacting hyperactively to being exposed to sunlight.
Right, she's not down in Arrow's basement anymore.
Yeah, she looks fantastic in this episode. And one of the things that I love
Because she's
about
usually
Felicity-
such a schlub.
But I mean, she either has her hair back in the ponytail and she looks great, or she lets her hair down and she looks great, or she's like in casual business attire and she looks great, or they put her in a sexy cocktail dress and she looks great.
Yeah, but she looks completely different when she lets her hair down. When she takes out the ponytail and does a blowout, she looks like a completely different person.
I'm just glad that they've kept the glasses. They've gotten rid of them a couple times, but I think it's such a part of her look and so hot.
Right. Honestly, I like her better with the glasses and the ponytail.
That's definitely the trademark Felicity look, but they're not afraid to do different stuff to make her look different, which they tried in this episode too. I feel like this episode she wore a little bit more color. We get to see a little bit of that.
Right. Well, there's really not a lot of color in Arrow.
Right.
Is she a standard character in the comic books?
No, she was created for the show.
She's invented for the show, but I want to say she's jumped over to the comics now.
They've added her to the comics. They really usually do that with any character that becomes popular, like Coulson.
Even going back to the Batman animated series, Montoya.
Harley Quinn, yeah. Bullock wasn't created for the TV show, was he?
No, but the Mr. Freeze plotline about his dead wife, that ended up being part of the comics and the Batman movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that originated in the animated series. That sort of like tragic backstory for Mr. Freeze. Victor Fries. All right, speaking of Freeze, what did you guys think of our villain of the week? Who is, I don't think it was on the CW, but Prison Break, right?
Wentworth Miller.
Right.
Yeah, who did Prison Break. And he did something else before that. I'm trying to remember what it was.
He was in Dinotopia.
Oh, thank God for that.
Dinotopia.
But when he showed up with that big fluffy jacket, I was like, oh, he's a poser in a parka now.
But if you look at what Captain Cold wears, he kind of dresses like an Eskimo. Mm-hmm. And he wears these, they're actually like snow blindness glasses that you would wear. But I love how they worked in the goggles in this one. He's like, oh, what are the goggles for? And I thought that they go with fantastic.
The gun.
Yeah. And they made it look convincing. The whole cold gun thing. I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work. But they did it.
Yeah, no, I made a note about the goggles, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, why did I make a note about the goggles? I'm like, oh, because I have those exact same goggles. That's why.
He just looks après-ski. Like he's ready to hit the slopes.
That's why I have those goggles, because I got them to go skiing with.
Yep. But I love the idea of a freeze gun. Like, you don't just have metahumans. You have meta technology that is like been inspired by this thing. And we find out that it's a creation of Cisco.
In case he ever needed to stop Barry.
Right. And I think that was maybe less convincing than if it had been Wells who'd like come up with it.
Or if Cisco had not been such a goofball for the 3 episodes leading up to this.
Right. If you like had a sense that he had a malicious bone in his body. But
well, I think considering what they've been through, that I could totally see him trying to come up with something to counteract, to keep themselves safe.
Mm-hmm.
To counteract anything that might transgress in the future.
We were supposed to mean that this was when he was still in a coma, because they didn't really know what his powers were going to be.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time between when they found out what his powers were and when they really knew him for him to have been like, oh, I got to build this gun.
Cisco does not sleep much.
Barry like pretty immediately shows that he's a good guy. So, because like the first thing he does is save people.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't see it really happening. But again,
I am trying to reach. Okay, I'm just trying to give some kind of plausibility. But you're right. Doesn't make sense.
They needed the ice gun. So it's kind of like at the end of Batman Begins, where because Batman's around, it creates these villains that are larger than life, bigger, badder than they would have been without Batman.
It's escalation.
So because Flash is around, we're seeing a guy that was just, a bank robber before, now he's a supervillain.
And he even says like, oh, you made me step up my game.
Yeah.
And now he's going to start putting together a team of supervillains, villains.
His bad guy boy band.
Yep.
I can't wait to see the dance stuff.
It's like, we're getting the band back together, guys. I like ice, you like fire. Let's
fire and ice. And it'll be a song of ice and fire.
See, it's all connected. It's all connected.
Oh. Hopefully we don't have to wait that long to see them show up again.
Yep, there's going to be 10 years between season 1 and season 2.
I don't have that long. Remember, I'm a lot older than you. I'll be dead by then.
I'll be around.
Yeah, you'll be showing your grandkids.
We'll recast with a younger, hipper Will.
I'll get my nephew on the line. Much hipper than I am.
All right, so this episode also revolves around a MacGuffin. We have a special diamond that everybody wants, or at least I guess the bad guy really wants, because it's a big.
This one guy really wants.
Yeah, he really wants.
But he can use the diamond, can't he? I mean,
no, not yet.
He just
wanted it. Yeah, it's a really big diamond.
He'll be able to find a freeze ray for it or something that'll Or like the diamonds in the Batman and Robin movie.
That's what I was thinking. Like, oh, he's going to use it to like soup up his ice gun, but no.
Maybe he will, because he
Maybe
does
later.
walk off with the diamond at the end of the episode. He gets to keep it. Don't push your luck. So the diamond is from Kandach. Kandach?
Sure.
Is that Klingon?
It's a real country.
Probably.
Kandach. And that's where Black Adam comes from in the comics.
Cool.
So maybe that's a teaser to something we'll see in the future. But also in the museum, there's a Hall of Heroes, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, we've talked about the Flash, and he's great and all, but we've got to talk about the city's greatest hero.
The greatest hero.
I can't wait to have this discussion, because since I saw the show, I was like, I'm writing this guy's name down because he's my personal favorite hero.
Bobby Bovine McFeely.
Oh, yeah. Bovine. Move over.
Hey, cow.
I kind of like the idea that maybe Central City, kind of like Pawnee, has this like weird mythology all its own. And so there's this weird, awkward history of the town that nobody really talks about, but everybody knows.
Shh, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Are you saying they've got awesome murals in their city hall too?
Depicting racism and stuff like that. Yeah.
Racism and slaughtering of the indigenous people. You know, the type of stuff you want on your city's walls.
Every post office should have it.
And the other week on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had a hell cow reference, so maybe
it's all about the cows this week.
Cows are going to be the new raccoons.
It might be connected. You don't know.
It's all connected. Hashtag it's all connected.
So Hellcow's a bad guy. Maybe Bovine McFeely is the protagonist to that antagonist.
I believe when they had the DC versus Marvel amalgam universe, they merged into Hell McFeely. I don't know.
I think you made that up.
I think I made that up.
He runs all the methane on the planet. Methane, because cows produce methane.
He makes addictive ice cream.
You guys are all of my references are just falling flat tonight. Crickets.
He's got a ice cream empire. He's the emperor of ice cream.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, I mean, it's really a rocky road when you think about it.
Oh,
you magnificent bastard.
Cherries Garcia.
Stop while you're ahead.
Right, I'm just going to stop now.
Iris wanted to be a cop.
I think that's really interesting because there's this weird, it's kind of this old-fashioned relationship that she has with her father. Does anybody else pick up on that? Like, he gets to kind of like say who she can date. He can pick the careers that she can have. I mean, obviously he's very protective of her, but at the same time, it's kind of a little sexist, right?
Yeah, but it's old school too.
It's not really that unusual to see in these comic book shows. They tend to have an older sensibility since that's where the origins of the characters are.
But do you think that the urge that Iris has to protect people, to serve and protect like her father does, might steer her in a different direction in the future?
I think really what she's going to end up doing is being an investigative reporter, and that's just going to put her in all of the same dangerous situations that she would have been in as a cop anyways.
Now, is she an undergrad? Is she working on like a master's degree or a PhD?
Did she say something about a thesis in the pilot, which to me would suggest she's working on a more advanced degree?
But she had to take an elective, which is kind of weird for that level of education.
True.
Like, why would she take a journalism class?
Unless she was getting like an English degree or something, and she just needed to fill out some credits.
Maybe. So again, she's working on her streak blog, which I love that Barry says, "Hey, I'm working on a new name. It's stuff," and then he gets interrupted.
He gets cut off. I'm really hoping she starts getting all these creepy comments from people that want it to be a streakers blog.
That would be brilliant. Although it would be 1970s all over again. And you weren't even born then. Let's move on.
Do you think there was a meta reference with Felicity saying that she'd be surprised, like the creeps that would find her online or something? But then that's kind of like going on in Arrow right now with Superman. Oh, wait, Brandon Routh showing up.
Superman is on?
He cyber stalks her. Yes, Superman is in Arrow.
Yeah, but he's not Superman. It's that bad actor. It's the same guy.
No,
he fit the suit.
It's Daniel Shaw from Chuck.
He fit the Superman suit. That's why.
No, they just wanted somebody who looked like Christopher Reeve. That's it.
He does look like Christopher Reeve.
Isn't Dean Cain the guy that played Superman?
Yes, Dean Cain.
Yes, yeah. And he also hosted those terrible ghost shows afterwards,
Please
too.
believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I know where I know Lois Lane from. Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you know her from.
Terry Hatcher.
Okay.
We'll move on.
All right, let's move on to... I don't know. What do we want to
Why
talk about?
doesn't Barry wear the suit when he uses the treadmill? That's because there's no air being compressed in front of him.
He's running in place, except his legs aren't. But
Right, but I mean, like, still he's going to have his arms rubbing against his side and his legs rubbing against each other and stuff. And you'd still think chafing
against his t-shirt.
chafing might be an
nipples.
issue.
Yeah.
I guess that's where the super
Chafing
healing
is
comes in.
always an issue.
Bloody
Chafing
nipples are a
is
thing if
always
you've
an
ever
issue.
seen a marathon.
That's why the suit's red, so it doesn't show.
I've run a marathon. I could tell you that it's a thing. Not pleasant.
So the line where Felicity wants to see it, and then that she's like, I don't mean your penis, but it can vibrate really fast.
I bet I can.
It's his superpower.
Did I say that out loud?
It's a good superpower to have.
It'd make him quite popular.
I mean, the only thing better would be like Mr. Fantastic.
He'd be very popular among the ladies, I can tell you that.
So Felicity has been hacking the Starlab satellite.
And she does it all without looking at the keyboard or
Yep.
using a mouse.
Well, on Arrow, they have all this Microsoft product placement, but they really haven't done that on Flash yet. So
Yeah.
they're always using like Surface tablets and stuff and Windows
Right.
phones.
Right.
But in this one, we haven't really seen that. It almost looks like they're using iPads in the trivia night thing.
I like that on Arrow, it's way obvious. It's like, and on my Surface, I'm
Yeah. Let me show you the home screen before I go to my secret hacking screen.
exactly.
Really, Windows bought product placement on every show that came out last year.
Yeah.
I know every TV show I watched, it was people like snapping their keyboards onto their tablets.
Oh, that's right.
Click,
Which
click,
is
click.
kind of a nice little thing to have happen. But I love when she sits down. She doesn't even, it's just, hey, look, I hacked in.
Oh,
Yep,
it would
less than
take
a
you
minute.
30 minutes? It would take me 1 minute.
Less than a minute.
That's why she's
Minute.
amazing.
She just like basically slammed her forearm on the
Yep.
keypad.
She just face planted her
Boom,
forehead.
I'm
on the
in.
key- Boom.
She actually knew what the problem was going to be like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And she did everything to find it. And then when they were like, hey, we need to do this, she was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do that in under a minute. And she just went and hit enter.
Right. Look, I hit this button. It says crack. Crack right into it. This button right here, it says break. I just hit that. That's how you do it.
I hit
Good
the
stuff.
find my
Good
ray
stuff.
gun button.
Which is, he's like, I keep sending it updates. Well, send it an update that's going to like
Make
brick
it quit
like,
working.
like Apple. Like just send it an update that isn't going to work.
Don't get me started on Apple and update.
Like, can't you just brick the freeze gun?
Update the iOS on it to make it all crappy.
It's not a death ray or an ice beam. That's all Johnny Snow.
Oh, you bastard.
Poser in a parka. I said this earlier.
Yeah. You got to stop naming these guys.
Although,
which-
you know what? I was disappointed in his t-shirt this week because it was just a space suit and a spacewalk. Could have been Armstrong, but it was,
Which
I mean,
mirrored the isolation that he felt after it was discovered that he created the ray gun.
oh, listen to you, snapping
Here
my
I am.
fingers.
Floating in my tin can.
Now you made a Bowie reference. Now I'm really jealous.
Can I talk about my favorite Cisco'd it moment of the episode?
Please
do.
do.
Just the vacuum cleaner with lots of LEDs.
Yeah, that was great.
That was amazing. And another reason why Felicity was here, because they needed another person to help carry it.
They could have just put it on Wells' lap and pushed him out there. Just rolled
Or
it
just
onto the
borrowed
field.
the wheelchair. Just borrowed the wheelchair to roll it in.
And then they come back and he's just still sitting on the floor.
Or they take the blanket off of his lap and it's fishnets and high heels.
He's like, what? I don't put on pants anymore. I just wear the blanket.
Oh, I remembered the line from, or actually I watched that episode again, but last week I said that he made a reference to, I guess, being old, and he said, you'd be surprised what you can get used to in the last episode. Wells said this.
Well, I remember
was
him
thinking-
saying that. What was the context for it?
I don't remember now.
Okay.
But anyway, I think it was meant to be a reference to him being in the wheelchair, but I think it was also a reference to him being perhaps older than he looks, or just from a different time.
Yeah.
Flying around in time, jumping around, going forward, backwards in time.
He is immortal. He has inside him blood of kings. Yeah.
See, you have to watch this movie, Haley.
You,
I don't know
you
what you're
definitely
talking
need
about.
to watch Highlander.
Highlander? That's in Highlander?
Highlander.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the entire Highlander soundtrack is all Queen.
It's all Queen. Who wants to live forever?
Forever. Yeah.
Who dares to love forever?
There can be only one.
There can be only one.
We cannot afford the rights for this podcast.
No, it's only if you do 4 bars. You
Okay.
have to pay.
All right.
30 seconds, whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to take all the profits from the podcast, guys.
Yep. We're
Because-
making mad bank on this.
I just bought my new rolls from the money I made off this podcast. Are you kidding me?
Wait, should I take it back? What?
Well, mine's a lease.
Oh, okay.
So-
There you go. All right.
Okay.
So one of the things that we got in this episode that I mentioned in the last episode of the podcast,
I know, diarrhea.
diarrhea. Yes. I want more references to poop. No, I said that I wanted more of Flash turning off his earpiece and thinking on his own.
Oh,
using
yeah,
his
that's
wits.
right. And you got
And
that.
what does he do in this episode but turn off his earpiece and use his wits? And what does he do? He saves an entire train full of people. Amazing.
You know, you're a writer on the show, aren't you? You're
I am,
secretly a writer. Yeah.
Guess what? Next episode, everybody dies.
Oh.
Bummer.
We're Game of Thrones in it.
There's no wedding.
They're going to have a wedding.
They can't kill anybody unless
gonna
there's a
be-
wedding.
Iris and Sexy Cop are going to have a shotgun wedding. And then
Oh, and then everybody dies.
Gorilla Grodd shows up, kills everyone.
Oh, Gorilla
But first,
Grodd.
he throws poop at them.
That's what gorillas do. They sling poop.
And that's when the Flash gets dubbed the Brown Streak.
The brown streak.
The brown streak. And it all comes back around.
Yeah. All right, this is the end of Crimson Comet for this week because
No,
clearly
wait. We didn't talk about Barry and
there's
Felicity on the
tons of other
train.
stuff.
Oh, the
Can we
love
just talk about
moment.
Felicity some more? Can we not talk about Barry and to just talk about Felicity?
Flashicity.
Flashicity. Nice. I like that.
Flaberry.
Fellaberry.
Phlebotomy.
Phlebotomy. Hi, we're here to take your blood. No.
Oh, take it from my chafing nipples.
New rule. We drink on more podcasts.
If you insist.
All right, so Felicity's on the train heading back to Starling City.
She's on
And
a
who
train
should-
with bucket seats, by the way.
And she's the only person on the train.
Yeah, she's
She's the only person on the train.
Yeah, because didn't you hear the train just crashed? No one is going to get on a train.
Which also, what train does she get on
Right.
where the tracks aren't just a giant police emergency scene?
She's going the opposite direction.
Yeah, the other train was going to Metropolis or something.
Yeah.
Right.
This one's going back to Starling City, and Flash just shows up. Boom, there he is on the train, and I'm
How
like,
did he get in? How did like there were no doors opening? He just got
he
in.
He opened
them
it really fast.
Yeah, really, really fast.
Yeah, but all those doors are always on hydraulics, so you could pretty much open them up, but then they close really slowly. Anyway,
Well, when he went on the train the first time, he just went through the window and like broke the window. But this time, he doesn't break the window.
that would
I
be a
don't know.
mess.
They forgot to shut one
So-
of the doors.
Anyway, Barry shows up. Felicity's there, and I'm totally like, they're going to make out. And then what do? They make out.
They break up and then they make out.
Which is
I'm
how
like,
it's
they're
done.
like, you know what? We can never really be together, so we might as well just kiss.
Yep,
because,
we're on 2 different television shows. It'll never work out between us.
I mean, they'll see each other, what, twice a season? Come on.
I do like that she pointed out that they're perfect for each other.
Right.
They are perfect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I ship them so hard together. But then again, I ship Felicity to everyone.
Yeah. I feel like this episode existed solely to put them squarely apart to lead into whatever the crossover is going to be. So that they didn't have to deal with and there was this thing between Flash and Felicity
Well,
that we've
that's
still got to
that's the
address.
other thing that kind of bugged me about this episode, because they said previously on Flash, but then they showed all the scenes from Arrow last season. And I was watching it, and my girlfriend who's been watching it with me was like, wait, when did this happen? I was like, oh, that was last season on Arrow, but they lied to you and said it was on the Flash.
Lies.
Lies, nothing but lies. But yeah, they had to resolve that relationship. And I like that they leave it kind of open. Not an open relationship, although that would be hot. But they're
That'd
basically
be rather
like,
interesting.
And
They're
that
like,
would work
"We're
out
perfect
really
for each
well
other."
for her. Like, yeah, she's got this one superhero boyfriend, and then she's got this other superhero boyfriend, and then she's got this super hot boss, and it's just cool with everybody.
and if she needs a booty call, I mean, he can be there in like 5 seconds. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but he'd be
It's fine.
finished way before she would.
Oh, but he'd be ready for round. I don't know.
Although he does have he can vibrate
He can
his
move
entire
super
body.
fast.
Vibrate
Yeah.
really fast. Yeah.
So it might be good for her.
Yep. Just saying. As long as they solve the friction problem.
A lot of KY. Wow, are we really going
this
down
is when
that
we
path?
decided to put the explicit tag on this podcast.
I'm sure Cisco has thought about it. And
Still Cisco.
besides the vacuum cleaner, he's been working on other solutions.
Yeah, we're going to need the explicit tag for this podcast. I can tell you right now. Although no one
Listen,
swore yet.
I've invented this amazing lubricant
Editing
for your
just got a lot
chafing
easier.
nipples. But guess what else you could use it for? All right, so Captain Cold is getting the band back together.
Or starting a band.
Starting a band.
Starting the band. He's not getting the band
super
back
villain
together
boy
because the
band.
two other guys quit. They were like, this is screwed. We're out
He
of here.
did say,
See
though,
ya.
if you don't put that bullet in my head right now, I'm going to kill you next time I see you.
And I bet he does.
I bet he does, too.
Yeah, but that's when you end up changing career paths and you end up becoming a gardener somewhere in another country.
Now you're a barista at the Stop and Jolt. Or
You're a barista now, you know. No, it's got to be something where you don't see a lot of people.
They're totally knocking over liquor stores in Central City.
Of course they are, which is the stupidest move because they're obviously going to run into him again. But, you know, when he says that, that's when you move to another city and you become a barista.
totally. All makes sense now.
So
Portland.
this
Go to
guy,
Portland.
Captain Cold, goes on to start a bad guy villain team called the Rogues.
The Rogues.
And one of the other guys on this team is named Heatwave. And I think that's probably who we saw at the end.
Heatwave! I have a question about the Rogues. If you want to leave the Rogues and go and do your own thing,
Going Rogue.
Are you a rogue?
Episode title, Going Rogue.
going rogue, it would be Rogue squared.
If you're
Are you
at
going
sea,
straight?
you rogue your boat.
Stop. That's enough out of you.
I will not stop. I cannot stop.
Won't stop,
Now I
can't
know what
stop.
the magic juice is. So we got Rogues and Heatwave, and that's who the new villain's going to be, but we don't know. He's not coming in next week.
No,
No.
He kept coming in. Or not next week, because the show's not for 2 weeks.
it's
Right.
on hiatus
He's not in the
for a
next
little
episode.
bit.
I think he's coming in like episode 10.
Right. I think both Supernatural and The Flash are on hiatus next week. They're skipping a week.
Most shows are on hiatus next week. I know S.H.I.E.L.D. is. They're airing a Marvel special.
Oh,
Wait,
wait.
why are we on hiatus already?
Election night. They don't want their show to get interrupted by news breaks.
Because I was going to say Gotham's on next week.
Right, but it's not on Tuesday.
It's on Monday. And it also hasn't been preempted by the World Series, so we've gotten steady Gotham.
Which the Royals lost. Bummer, guys.
They can never be Royals.
I love the delay between Will stops talking and starts laughing.
I need a moment to process. Like, did he really just say that? Damn.
That's why you brought me on the podcast, right?
Thank
Yep.
God for that.
It's taken me a couple episodes to find my stride, but here we are.
We brought you here
This is
for
what
the
you have
puns.
to look forward to.
Well, now we know that we have to, pump a couple beers in each one of us before we start.
That's true. We did imbibe a little bit during the
bit.
prep for the show. So, all right, I want to mention a couple more things that I enjoyed in this episode. I mentioned the train rescue already. That was fantastic. And again, I'm not sure by the time we get around to having a Flash movie, this show is pushing the envelope in terms of the way it's pushing the Flash and his abilities. And come on, lightning bolt eyes. That was amazing. And then he just kicked it into overdrive, saved everyone on the train. He's pushing the limits of his powers.
No,
Amazing.
it's great. I mean, they're really moving the character forward. They're really moving the abilities forward, and the visuals are. It's quickly becoming my favorite superhero show on television. Actually, it is my favorite superhero show on television. So
I just feel like DC made a really bad decision by not choosing to include these great characters that are being developed in the TV shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, by the time we get around to that, they may change their tune. If they see that their movies are underperforming a bit, they may decide, well, hey, we're going to do the Flash from the show because it's pretty successful on the CW. But
I don't know. I mean, the shows work great on television, but I don't know if they're going to work on the big screen, and they're going to want to do everything in 3D.
I'm just saying, when it comes to doing a Flash movie, you're going to do what? The origin story of the Flash, and maybe introduce one of the well-known villains or two of the well-known villains, like Captain Cold, like Gorilla Grodd, like Professor Zoom or whatever. And we're already seeing all of that in the show. And I just kind of wonder, like, again, it's going to be kind of far in the future, so maybe they'll say, like, well, we'll do it a little bit differently. People will have forgotten. But I don't know. Silliness.
Here's a question I have for all the feature film producers, and I just don't understand whenever they have a great franchise, they ruin great franchises by doubling and tripling up the amount of villains they have in every consecutive movie.
Yep.
And that's how they destroy it. I mean, even the second Dark Knight movie, I mean, it had not Tommy Lee Jones, but it had Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face. It had, like, it started doubling up, but in reality, it was all about the Joker.
Right.
It was all about the Joker, and nobody even remembers that Two-Face was in it.
Two-Face was just another pawn of the Joker.
Yeah, it was just another pawn of the Joker. But when you start doing it happened to the Batman franchises a while back.
To Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, absolutely. It's like, well, one villain was great. Let's make twice as much money by putting in two villains.
Yeah,
it's a third movie. Let's put in four villains. I mean, come on.
And the other problem is these movies become origin stories about the villains. So at the same time that you're telling an origin story about the hero, you have to tell the origin story about the villain. And then in the sequel, you have to add in some sort of conflict for the hero and tell the origin story of 1, 2, 3 villains in the same movie. I mean, look at the last Spider-Man movie, which had the Rhino, Electro, and the new Green Goblin or whatever. And at the same time, they're doing Peter and Gwen and all the other crap that went on in that movie, which, again, I thought was okay, but I'm a Spider-Man fan. I tend to be a little bit more forgiving of those movies than others.
I feel like the Spider-Man Gwen part was really strong in that movie, and the villains part are what was weak about that movie.
Yeah.
I did not see that movie.
They filmed part of it in my city, Rochester, New York. Ooh. Rochester.
Okay, so we were talking about, why they chose not to tie the movie and TV shows together. I feel
they're
like
stupid.
Right, they're stupid. But I feel like if they had chosen not to do a Flash movie,
done it.
If they'd chosen not to do a Flash movie, if they'd instead just included, the Flash from the TV show and the Arrow from the TV show in Justice League, they're just part of the supporting cast. That could have worked really well. It would have helped them with their TV shows. It would have helped them with their movies. And, they would have had one less feature film to put out in the next 5 years.
Yep. And they could have done someone perhaps more interesting.
Right. But they didn't ask me. I don't know why.
I don't mean more interesting. I mean someone that they haven't explored yet.
Someone that hasn't already been done. Yeah.
There are other DC Comics characters besides even Justice League members that you could do.
That's just crazy talk.
But I don't know. What do I know?
We're waiting for them to call us and ask what we think they should do next. They're just looking for our phone numbers right now.
Well, I could tell them our phone number. Our phone number is 423-FLASH-53. That's 423-352-7453. Now call us and we'll tell you how to do it.
Right.
DC Comics execs. Look here.
Warner Brothers execs.
We'll tell you what you're doing wrong.
DC comic people know what they're doing. The Warner Brothers people don't.
Well, the comics people probably could use a few pointers too. We'll help all of them out.
Is there anything else we want to mention this episode about going rogue?
I think we've covered just about everything that's not worth covering.
Next week, we're all going rogue and hosting 3 separate podcasts individually about the same thing.
I'm just going to talk about Felicity. So
yeah.
I don't know what you guys are going to do.
I'll just talk about Cisco's t-shirts.
Well, next week, we're not going to have an episode to talk about. So thanks to Jono, he did a little digging and found a Justice League episode from the 2001 cartoon series that's about Gorilla Grodd. So that's what we're going to be watching.
Heck yeah.
It's available on Netflix.
Grodd is quickly becoming my favorite villain. And I've
not
even
nothing about him.
Seen nothing about him, just reading the backstory.
Who Captain Cold was talking to in the hotel room, right? Gorilla Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd.
That must be it. This show's available on Netflix Instant Watch. It's going to be season 1, episodes 12 and 13. They're titled Brave and the Bold, parts 1 and 2. So that's what we're going to watch next week and talk about.
And it has Flash, Green Lantern, and Gorilla Grodd.
And they're only 23 minutes long.
Right, so it's just like watching an episode.
Right. And we're going to talk about both in one episode,
Yep.
Yep. So that'll be coming up sometime in the hiatus.
Yes. You know what else we should do is at some point watch an episode and do a running commentary on it.
That could be fun.
That would be fun.
Maybe over like the Christmas break we'll do that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Maybe on Christmas Day. No, not on Christmas.
Not on Christmas Day.
Christmas Eve.
No.
Well, definitely. Maybe at the end of the season, we'll let our listeners pick their favorite episode for us to do a live commentary of,
Or a drunk commentary of.
or a drunk commentary, or both.
That would be.
I would recommend the drunk commentary. That'll probably be more entertaining.
I agree.
Do we have a Patreon account so people can buy us booze? I feel
No,
like
but we
that should be a thing. We should. We should have a Patreon for Patron.
Booze always makes a podcast better.
All right. So until then, this has been episode 4 of the Crimson Comet. I'm Haley.
I'm Lobster.
I'm Rum Daddy.
Bye.
Adios.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, you can find all of our contact information at crimsoncometpodcast.com. Find us on Twitter at Crimson Podcast or Facebook at facebook.com/Crimson Comet Podcast. Leave us a voicemail at 423-53. That's 423-352-7453. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Gonna Geek. The podcast is not affiliated with DC Comics, Warner Brothers, or the CW. No infringement is intended. The music heard is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. I'm gonna go get a drink.
Go get a drink.
I will be back.
I got more beer.
Yay. I'm actually having the Leinenkugel Orange Shandy right now.
I've got a local beer. It's their Legacy IPA, 6.5% alcohol.
Ooh, yum. Beer drinking, burping kind of podcast tonight.
Yo, I got beer.
I got cider.
Higher.
And we're off.
Except where the fuck is my bottle opener? God damn it. Have a drink and no bottle opener. I'm just...
Just crack it.
Do you,
I'm
have,
like-
do you have a lighter?
Where's a sword when you need one?
I have
You
a
went to
glass
college.
desktop too, so...
You went to college. You
Yeah,
should
use
know
your
how to...
engineering degree.
Hold on, I've
Create
got a really
levers or
shitty
something.
table here. I don't care if I tear it up.
You know, you could use your key. You have a key? Key'll work.
Key ring. Captain Cold.
At first, I was like, is that Mr. Freeze? Oh, no, it's actually part of the lore.
Yeah. All right.
She's opening the bottle.
Smash.
Haley, smash.
How do you use the keyring to open it?
Leverage.
Okay, thanks.
You were an engineer, Haley.
I
You
have a
went to
bottle
college.
opener. I didn't have to do this.
We're very disappointed in you.
Got it on the table. Suck it, science.
Flashpoint is a Canadian police drama television series debuted July 11th, 2008.
You're a Canadian police drama.
Burn. All right, are we really ready to go? Is everybody recording?
Yes, we've been recording for an hour. Let's go.
We literally have. I'm about to turn off the recording and turn it back on.
Welcome to episode 4 of Crimson Comet. This week
No,
we'll be
wait, I
discussing...
wasn't really recording
God
it.
damn it!
Here we go again.
Here we go.
And we're back.
I can't do it now.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Crimson Comet. This week we'll be discussing The Flash, season 1, episode 4, Going Rogue.
I'm your host, Haley.
We're just going with that.
Is that what you're going with?
Okay. Guys, I found my bottle opener.
Oh,
Hooray.
thank God. Hey, now you can actually
Podcast
start.
is saved.
Let's start all over again.